Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Expert Diaries. I am Aravind from Zoho Campaigns and email marketing software from Zoho. And in case you are watching this for the very first time, Expert Diaries is the show where we connect with experts in the industry of email marketing, discuss and bounce off ideas on all things email marketing. Today, the topic is going to be about email marketing in the sphere of e-commerce. And to offer insights on that, I've got an expert joining us all the way from the United Kingdom. His name is James Gurd, and he is a seasoned campaigner in this arena. He has been around for more than 16 years, and currently he runs an independent e-commerce consultancy in the name of Digital Juggler. Hi, James. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Aravind. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks very much for inviting me on.
James, I want to begin by asking a very fundamental question. So, e-commerce as an industry is very diverse and very fast-paced, right? And at every given time, you have so many things happening at the store level and a lot of things happening there. So, given this, how do we ensure that all the email communications are from an e-store are totally relevant to the customers? Customers as in subscribers, users, subscribers.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think people get distracted by all the shiny new things and lose focus on what customers want and just send out campaigns rather than thinking about whether they're sending the right things. I think the big challenge is maintaining a focus on what customers need and looking at that as you grow rapidly. At the start, it's easy, but when you hit fast growth, it becomes very easy to be distracted. So I think the first thing is you have to set clear expectations about what your email program is. When people subscribe, do they know what they're subscribing to and why? Because if they don't, and it's just sign up, so sign up for what? What am I going to get? Then if what they have in their mind doesn't match with what you're sending, you've instantly got a customer experience issue. And that's when you normally get high bounces. That's when people don't open, and it's just, it's pointless sending emails if people don't want it. So clear expectations. This is what you'll get. This is the benefits of signing up. The second bit is preferences. It's, as you evolve, it's easier to do this because often when you start, you just send out a very simple campaign, maybe weekly. But as you grow and you start doing different types of campaign and learning more, give people options. Like, do people only want to hear about sales and promotions? Well, great. If that's all they want, put them on that segment that only ever gets the sale and discount list. Don't send them all this beautiful branded stuff and look at all this great stuff we're doing if they're not interested. Not everyone wants to buy into your brand and get excited about it. Some people just want to buy. That's fine. But equally, it's things like, do you want to know about inspiration? We do lifestyle content as well as new product ranges and new brands, and what these areas do you want to know about? Tell us. You can have it all, or you can have one or two. I think that's really, and there's a real growth in preference centers, and some of the big retailers are doing this really smartly, where they have a really detailed set of sub options, and they don't try and scare people when they subscribe by, here you go, fill out this form of 30 things, because no one would do it. But what they do is they gradually, once somebody subscribed, is they then overlay that CRM data through drip campaigns to say, hey, we'd love to know more about you. Do you like this? Would you? But they also use behavioral data from what people are doing on the site to inform dynamic segments. So as you get more mature, you can learn more about this. And this is why you need to know what they want. And you can use browsing and purchase data to dynamically push people into segments. So I did this years ago at a company called Betterware. And it was, we found out there was about 10% of the audience who only ever bought from the cleaning range. And that was done out of the purchase behavior in the back-end ERP. And it's like, okay, well, all of those people where we have email matches and they only ever shop on click or buy, and let's just put them in a garden segment and a cleaning segment, and let's not send them the stuff they're not interested in, and we'll focus the campaigns for them purely on that. So I think there are a few things you can do, but one thing I'd say to everyone is you can't make your emails 100% relevant to every single subscriber. It's almost impossible because us humans are fickle. So learn and improve rather than obsessing about getting it right for absolutely everybody. Some people will leave. That's life.
True. So it's about understanding their preferences, letting them record and register their preferences and respecting that, and also tracking their behavior and understanding what they really want and what could excite them.
Yeah, exactly. The tracking bit you just said is hugely important, because you can use click and on-site behavior to learn. So you can track that journey if you get your analytics set up. What types of content do people click on? Do people click? Are you inserting links to videos, guides, buying guides, lifestyle articles, inspirational content, different ways of showing products? What do people actually click on? And that can help you change your content strategy within the email to give people more the type of content that they want as well.
Also, James, before talking about the major aspect of email marketing in e-commerce automation, I just want to get this question out of the way. I have seen people using their e-store platform itself to communicate with their audience via emails, and and it is mostly based on one sole criteria, which is time. So the emails are automated, they are just entirely revolving around this single criteria. When for example, say when an item is added to a cart, send an email at this point in time, and then send the second email at this point in time. So how important is it to just consequentially also target them based on their behavior for the first email, based on the response to the first email, and then trigger the second email? How important is that?
So it really comes down to the tooling you have and the ability to create flow. So modern email providers and lifecycle marketing tools like Savimetrics, Klaviyo. I mean, Klaviyo is huge in the Shopify world as well. They can create flows where you can then change what the person receives based on the behavior at the first. So it could be, abandoned basket, good one. Somebody receives an abandoned basket and they click through versus they don't, and the campaign that they see second up is changed based on whether they have or responded. So I think those flows are massively important. I know you want to talk later about trends, and this is increasingly where the smart email marketing is going. It's about not treating everyone the same, but you have to start somewhere, and you can't get to flow-based email marketing without going through the learning. And the learning is often doing the basics right, which is, well, actually, let's use triggered emails. When people do something, let's send something generic, and let's learn what impact that has. Then we can take it to the next level. If we know that doing something is positive, that gives us a business case. Say, well, actually, we now need to do this maybe segmented, or we need to build out flows. So a good example of this is wish lists. And this is one of the most underutilized email triggers you could possibly have. So few businesses do it well. There's a great gaming company called Steam who do it really smartly, where you add to your wish list, you get your notification because it says, hey, congratulations, it's in your wish list, just as a reminder. But if the item in the wish list goes on sale or it's running low on stock, you then get the next notification, which is, hey, James, this game you like, we're running out of stock, don't miss out. But the other thing they did brilliantly is, because it's a gaming platform, and therefore it's got a community element, so you can connect with friends in there. With a friend of yours has added a game to their wish list, they let you know and say, hey, your friend John has, or Aravin's just added this game to his wish list, are you interested? So they're creating all of these different strands of communication to try and add value to the customer. And it's not in your face, because it's based on something you've done initially.
True. Workflows are getting increasingly popular. But like you mentioned, you have to get the hang of the basics first, learn the dynamics of email marketing, and then slowly migrate to automation and workflows in particular, which helps you to send behavior targeted emails, which helps you to visualize how your audience are going to engage with your emails, and lets you create all sort of response-based emails.
Yeah, I always say to people, e-commerce, you've got to think basically like product design. When true product designers create a product, they're thinking about form and function as well as the design and the beauty. So building a lamp, a beautiful lamp that doesn't work is useless. So the lamp has to function and then look good. And with email marketing, it's the same principle. You've got to get the foundations right, and it's got to be functionally sound, and it's got to give customers what they need. Then you can build on and test and enhance and get more sophisticated. It's even things like, splitting out different types of customers. So the first time somebody subscribes to an email, how do you warm them up and make them feel that the email's worth it and they're getting something of value? Not just, right, next week you get an email now. How about, thank you for signing up? Hey, did you know? How about this? You can, if you're looking for help, we've got X, Y, and Z. Same with the new registration on the e-commerce site. They've registered, but they haven't bought. How do you make them feel good about registering with you? Then they're a first-time buyer. How do you thank them? How do you reward them for being a first-time customer, and then show them other things that are of value to them? If they're a second-time buyer, how do you increase the reward? Because, hey, great, you've come back. Brilliant. We now want to make you a loyal customer. It's things like that. Let's think about where that person is and what they're doing and how we can overlay value on top of it.
All right. Very insightful. Now, coming to the part that which I'm sure that most of the audience are eagerly waiting for, cart abandonment. And without a doubt, it is the most difficult challenge facing e-store owners or marketers. So what are some of the best practices to recover abandoned cart?
Oh, there we go. It's the $1 million question. So, yeah, I mean, you're right. I think cart abandonment's only increased since COVID as well, because people are online more, browsing more. I think the first thing is, don't panic, because cart abandonment is a natural behavior. There will be some carts you can recover because of poor UX or poor information, or people are just a little bit unsure about going in. But there are some carts you can't recover. People are price comparing and shopping. They might have gone onto Amazon and bought it cheaper, or they never really fancied buying it. They were just, a bit of fun browsing, or they're an annoying consultant like me who's created a basket to see how your website works, right? So you've got to understand that dynamic. But then I guess the good guidelines are, number one is do something, even if it's basic, get it in place. I worked with a jewelry client and they didn't have a cart abandonment because their brand side were like, oh no, it doesn't really sound great. And they spent months and months deliberating about how they should write it and we just put something live and said, enough, this is e-commerce. If you don't do it, you've lost your customer. And we put it live and they instantly got recovered revenue. And it's like, right, now you can make it beautiful. You've got to have something. That's the starting point. The next bit is think about other elements of the e-commerce environment that you can use to stop somebody abandoning before you have to send them an email. So this is things like exit intent, like slide out panel. When someone goes to leave the site, they're on mobile and they press into the web browser, or they're on desktop and they're mousing away, a slide in that basically says, hey, is there anything else we can help you with? Was there anything wrong? Or did you know that you get free delivery and free returns? Things to take away the known barriers to purchase. I did a lot of work with Sage, big accounting and financial services company in the UK. We built a global program for them. And we did a lot of testing of the exit intent stuff on the site to minimize the need for emails to have to get people back. But then that works well alongside email. But then email, it needs to be multi-phase. Just sending one email and that's it. It's not enough. I think the general rule is 3 emails, and I've certainly seen the overall net response rate highest. So the first email gets the highest response, and the second and third lower. But overall, if you only send one, you get a lower net rate. So send an email as soon as a person's abandoned, but it's got to be focused on the service and not trying to sell and not giving people a discount. You just shove a discount in, you just train people to wait for the discount, and therefore you kill your margin. So the first one has got to be about, hey, we've saved your basket. Let them know how long it's saved for. Some sites only save items for a certain amount of time in the basket. Tell people, be transparent and say, look, don't miss out. Your basket's saved for 48 hours. Here it is. Use this link. And then, have you got any questions? Can we help you? Our customer service team are here to help. Things like that work brilliantly, because then it's, well, if they did have a doubt, well, they can very quickly click into the site and go to a live chat, or they can pop an email, whatever they want to do. Even embedding links within those emails to open, like, messengers and stuff like that on the phone. So I think it's about making it service-based. And the other thing about making it service-based and not marketing and sales-led is, especially in the EU, where we have GDPR, which means that unless people have opted in, you are not allowed to market to them. which means you can fall foul of the legislation. You can end up with a big fine if you're caught. If it's service based, then you can send those out under legitimate interest and say, you took the action of adding to basket. We're reminding you, if you need help, we are here. And that can help you to get a larger pool of emails out than if you're trying to say, here's 10% off, get this as well. So I think it's about thinking about what's good for the customer.
Great. Yes. You also partly answered the question that I have for you next. Anyways, let me go ahead. Like you mentioned, there are store level reasons why people don't check out, right? So poor UX and transactional failures and so on and so forth. But we have to tap into the psychological side of things as well, right? So what people exactly think at that point in time. So I, for instance, add some items in the cart hoping that the price would drop later. And some people doubt the quality of the product, so on and so forth. So how do we tap into that area, and how do we craft emails, understanding or premeditating the expectations of the buyer or the mindset of the buyer?
Yeah, so really good points. The first thing is you need to understand your customers. If you have no customer insight, start by putting surveys on out to your customers or onto the site. So a good one is a exit intent survey. If somebody abandons like a product page without adding to cart, or somebody's abandoned a cart, a survey saying, was there anything wrong, and learning from that. And if people turn around and say, oh, your delivery is too slow, or the price seems a bit high, or I'm not sure if what if it doesn't fit, or I don't like it, you can start to find the key things that are really at back of people's mind, and then you can translate that into your content. And it might be, so with Sage, for example, we looked at different types of persuasion. So if anyone, for those listening, if you haven't, I recommend reading Robert Cialdini on persuasion. There are 7 persuasion tactics he talks about. He's very, very well known, like psychology professor of marketing. And you can start to think about each of those and how it could be applied. So a good example is social proof. We respond to other people who are like us, and we trust them more than just a brand saying, hey, this is good. So if you have, I've done this with B2B, where they were the top rated in the market, and they have over 10,000 customers rating them at average of 4.8 out of 5. Putting that in the content of join 10,000 other happy customers has a much bigger impact than you saying, we're great. The other things you can do is the reassurance about the returns. So, free returns all year round. Take away the worry that they might be thinking, oh, if I really don't like it, well, that's a bit of a pain in the backside. And then think about USPs. This is something that people often don't do. Simple reinforcements of, maybe you are free delivery on all orders. Maybe you are, the top X in your country. For example, the Sage one, they were at the time, HMRC is the revenue and customs in our country that does, we have to pay your tax to. And the Sage accountant at the time was the only HMRC approved accounting software. And that was huge for small businesses who were worried about they don't have big legal and financial and accounting teams. So the worry for the small business is, Christ, if I get this wrong, I could get fined. That instantly was a huge, take the fear away thing. So you're right. It's thinking, it's understanding what are people's motivations to buy and what are people's fears. And then looking at that and adding on genuine, unique selling points, not just we're great, but genuine things that are of value to customers.
Great insights. As a next question, James, I want to touch the aspect of demarcation. Like, we are talking about cart abandonment now, but it is also true that it's true that we have to demarcate the audience into 2 types, right? Like visitors and customers. First-time visitors, or visitors that are yet to become customers, and have different strategies in place for both of them. Is it really possible? And if it is possible, how to systematically achieve that? Is there a procedure?
Yeah, so I guess this is harder, because you can't just have a generic e-commerce platform can just you said earlier, e-commerce platform send them out. So Magento can use its Mandrill email gateway to instantly send out emails triggered based on a template. it becomes harder if you want to capture the emails of an abandoned cart, then segment them based on which is a recognized account and which isn't, because you then have to do lookups, and that requires a process flow, and that is harder. It can be done, but it takes more effort, development work to set it up and get those emails then flowed into the right segments. So I don't think people who are starting out would want to consider that. I think they should start simple, generic, and get something that's practical and works, and at least recover some revenue. If you then recover revenue, you've got money that you can turn into a business case to say, right, we now need to take it to the next level. But it also depends on volume. You know, if you're losing 5 or 10 carts, the extra effort and cost to set up flows based on whether you're a registered customer or not, it's much harder to prove that business case than if you've got hundreds and hundreds of them. So I think it's, as long as you, like we said in the last question, as long as you focus on, you know, what is it that is stopping you from buying? What can we do to help reassure you, and how can we help you? I don't think you have to worry so much about splitting them out. That for me comes later. I mean, there's probably other people out there can give better examples of people doing this. I don't know many of my clients who get to that level, to be honest.
Okay. Right. So another important aspect of automation is following up with customers, right? People who have just purchased, following up with them.
Yeah.
And what are some of the points to keep in mind while building an automated purchase follow-up series?
Yeah, this is another good question to get stuck into, because there are so many different answers to this. So let me give you my perfect answer of what I love to do if people are willing to do it. So that is, as soon as someone orders online, on the order confirmation page, they have a net promoter score survey. And that net promoter score, and it's also sent out in the email order confirmation, that net promoter score is them telling you whether they've enjoyed their experience or not, basically. Yeah, how likely are you to recommend us after your experience today, from 1 to 10? That can then change your behavior. And in the UK, there's a company called Satellitis that provides a solution for this, and they work with brands like Arena Flowers. And they change their behavior to customers based on the result of that survey. So if somebody rates them 1 out of 10, that means something fundamentally has gone wrong. So maybe they're a crazy customer, but maybe they're generally upset about something. That means sending them the next follow-up, which is, hey, we'd love a product review. You want to fix what the problem is before you start sending your product review emails. So actually you can start to change your behavior based on whether the customer's been satisfied by their online experience. So that to me is about how you improve the follow-up process. So yes, they have to have order confirmation and all those standard transaction emails, but find out whether you've given them a good service. If you haven't, look to improve it and to fix the issue. If you have, look at other things. Like maybe it's, hey, we'd love you to follow us on social, or did you also know that we have X, Y, and Z, or did you know that we have a subscription service for delivery? You can save money on your deliveries, spend £10, you get free delivery all year. So there are different things you can say to people based on whether they're satisfied or not. Now, you still do your customer reviews because you need to give people the chance to review. But if you delay the customer review email by maybe 2 weeks after purchase, you have time to gather those responses, assess, and then address any potential issues.
All right. So one final question before I let you go. We are still relatively fresh in this year. The year is still relatively young. And what are the trends that you foresee in the e-commerce industry? And to offer some context to this question, ever since the pandemic made landfall, there was sort of a paradigm shift. People started purchasing more online. It wasn't that people weren't inclined to online purchasing, but a lot of people started coming into the bandwagon, right? There was a paradigm shift, and now we are almost slowly returning back to normalcy. So is that going to affect the trends, or what are the things to watch out for in this year?
And do you mean specific to email or broader e-commerce?
In the e-commerce industry.
Okay, so yeah, in terms of because you saw, I think McKinsey said there was 10 years growth in 2 months in the US in e-commerce. The share of e-commerce has gone up. and that, it's not going to suddenly change and come back to where it was. There's been a step change in terms of percentage share in most markets. What's happening though is that the growth year on year has slowed right down, and in 2022 in some categories people are predicting that actually the sales will be lower this year than they were last year. There are some categories like in furniture, for example, where I think it was last year the e-commerce sales went down. So there is inevitably going to be a kind of plateau this year. So I think that's going to surprise a few e-commerce teams who've seen this growth and go, wow, and makes us, we've got to remember that people haven't just all switched online, that there is still offline and online working together, and we need to maintain that focus. And e-commerce isn't just about selling online. So what's happening this year, there's definitely from people I speak to and work with, a keenness in looking at how they improve customer loyalty, and understanding that loyalty is not just about points and money off, it's about giving people reasons to shop. And this ties in with lots of wider themes. So it's things like green e-commerce and eco credentials. So the younger generations are much more on it than older generations, although there's still a lot of interest in the environment for the older generations. But the impact of people who demonstrate true environmental credentials and sustainability in their business, and that influence in shopping decisions. So people need to be more transparent about it and honest, and not trying to greenwash by claiming things that aren't true, because there's a lot of backlashes, people saying, yeah, we have a environmentally friendly supply chain, and being proven to be wrong. So that's really important. Everyone's now talking, there's an obsession with the metaverse, and I hate that word, but there are some tangible ways in which e-commerce is benefiting it, and there are some big brands out there using the virtual worlds to look to increase their brand penetration and to drive sales and create unique propositions in there. I think e-commerce it's not going to be a massive thing this year, but it's almost like the start of mobile, when people are like, oh, this is interesting. People are starting to look at the applications, and there'll be more people experimenting. I know a few looking at NFTs at the moment for things like proof of ownership for premium products. So you buy a premium product, and what's the way of guaranteeing that you can prove that it's yours, and if it got stolen, the serial number linked to an NFT, which is permanently in the blockchain, and nobody can deny that. So there's different ways people are looking at that element of it. But I think primarily it's more people are getting serious about data, and you've touched upon it today, making sure they have the right data, being able to validate the impact of the decisions they're making, and using data to automate how they're able to service customers and make better decisions on the website for what they show to people. So I guess there's so many trends. Some trends are more relevant to certain businesses than others.
All right. So yeah, it was really great, James, having you here and seeing you answering all the questions with great perfection. Thanks for the time, and I'm sure that the audience are going to love this. This was very insightful for me, personally speaking. So I hope that it is going to resonate with the audience as well. Thank you so much for doing this, James.
Yeah, thanks, Aravind. Thanks for being such a good interviewer, and I hope everyone's enjoyed it. And feel free to contact me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter @JamesGurd. If anyone's got any questions, give me a shout.
All right. I'm sure that they are going to make a beeline there. Thank you so much.